Yo everybody, what's going on? It's your guy, it's your boy. It's your other cringy saying that YouTubers say when they're trying to introduce themselves. It's Eddie. I'm just welcoming you guys to another video. This is going to be our breakdown or our post-mortem of our Bracky's 2021.1 project. I believe it's called UFO. It's 2D, 2.5D adventure game where you talk to your students and try to get them back to the bus, right? For those of you who don't know, post-mortem is essentially, it's a breakdown. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is talking about the good and the bad, and, try to dissect what we did right and we did wrong and all that good stuff. Before we get into that, though, I'm going to do a little quick... Actually, no, I'll either put it in this video, the end of this video, or I'll make it a separate video, and it'll be like a little highlight of some of the fun. In post, don't go away. It's at the end of the video. Don't you dare. Don't do it. To the end of the video. To the end of the video.
So right now I'm trying to get Shotty out of the pool, and it's the blatant race
of why you're here. What we're gonna do, we're gonna break down everything we did right, everything we did wrong, some of the things I thought, some of the things I learned, and we're gonna get into that. So first things first, we spent a good 3 days before and at the very beginning of the jam just kind of figuring out what we like and what we wanted to do, right? So we took the topics at hand and we took all these notes of all the games we want to make, all the things we think might be cool, and they go with each of the different topics. And you know what? I think that was like genuinely one of the best things we could have done, was just brainstorm before the jam even started. Because we had a list of topics that we liked, we had a list of game ideas that we wanted, and that way we could just get the ball rolling before the game before we even started typing anything. And that was one of the best things we could have done, right? Like, on top of that, we also we used Milanote, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with Milanote. It's a scheduling. It's a good, it was a good way for us to get organized and do our project that way. There are a lot of other free tools like these. However, I don't know. I don't remember I can't usually remember a lot of them. It just happened to be that Milanote was one that I bookmarked. I prefer it over something like Trello. However, I really wish it was free. There's a limited amount of blocks you can use in Milanote, but you can basically create your own Kanban without even having to, worry about anything. You can add pictures if you wanted. On top of using Milanote, we also used what's the social media? Pinterest. We also used Pinterest. So we combined both to get ideas of things like characters and setting in our world, as small as it might be, and we put all that together within the first day. We put all that stuff together, and kind of on top of that, another thing we did that I really liked, at least something that I really enjoyed, was the way we split labor. Like, we kind of just did it, and if there was any questions, we just kind of said, "Hey, what about this thing? Do you have a question about this?" And it's like, "I don't care." So we just did it, and if it wasn't functional with something that we were trying to do, we scrapped it. That's kind of what I liked about working in a group of 2, as opposed to working in a group of 1 or 4 or more. Working with good friends is always great. However, with 2 people, it's kind of hard to have a hierarchy. With 2 people, you are still beholden to the other person, but it's hard to have the other person can't dominate you. And, well, hopefully the other person doesn't try to dominate everything, what you do and what you say. It's a partnership. Whereas a group of, I've been in groups of 3 and 5 and 6, and even if it's a positive environment, it's still one person's say goes. And if it's not, then if it isn't that way, then it becomes unorganized. So that's why I really enjoy working in a group of 2. And then, of course, instead of grouping it solo, it means that, all of my faults, they get what's the word I'm looking for? They get puzzle pieced by the other person. We become complements of each other. So everything that I'm not necessarily good at, my partner can help me with. So that's something I took away from it as well. I guess I prefer small groups of 2, or at least groups that at least understand that there doesn't necessarily need to be a hierarchy of ideas. Let's see here. 2.5D. Cinemachine. Thank you, Cinemachine. Or thank you, the Cinemachine team, I tried doing 2.5D with a camera before I remembered Cinemachine existed, and it wasn't hard, but tracking became a lot harder, and then doing the camera swivel became insanely difficult after that. So Cinemachine, thank you so much. Same thing with Fungus. Fungus and Cinemachine saved me so much work that like this game would not have been possible. It's just a time saver, and that's one of the things I liked about using a lot of the assets we got from either the asset store or from itch or just some person's sites or YouTube. We got our music from the YouTube studio because if anyone, most of you guys understand, writing music is a pain. So we were able to grab some stuff from YouTube studio. We able to get that to work. In fact, if I can be honest, we were able to get the game as a whole done more or less by Wednesday. And this is kind of where it gets into difficulties. And I think one of the reasons we had so many difficulties at the end was kind of a little bit of Fungus and a little bit of my coding knowledge not being as good as it could be. So Fungus, A-Star, both of those things are amazing, but then I needed helpers for both of them because obviously I need to script custom blocks, and with A-Star I need to be able to switch paths. Those things should not be that difficult, but I'm like, sometimes. And on top of doing the other things, I didn't do I wasn't as diligent as a programmer as I could have been, right? So we really spent Thursday, Friday, and Saturday debugging and constantly testing and debugging and testing and debugging, right? So I obviously began to realize that this is not going to go as well as I'd hoped it would, and so it still ended up being more or less fine. I think there's maybe one or two issues with the game that could have been fixed overall, but all of the game breaking stuff is no longer there because there was a lot of that. There was a ton of that beforehand. And kind of last but not least, to kind of go into the last of my findings, I guess, the last of my what I learned knowledge, it's just kind of like, 2.5D games. I think it's one of those things that I was always mystified by. And when we first started this, I think that was one of the first things I said I wanted to do, make a game in 2.5D. Kind of like, because I think one of the things me and my partner had in common is that we both liked Paper Mario. And I was like, well, we'll make a 2.5D game. And that was before we had even heard the announcement of what kind of game to make. If anything, the topic actually helped us with that. And I think, if anything, the actual idea we came up with matched that topic really well. I think we could have done a little bit better, and we planned for a lot more than we could have had. If we had maybe another 2 or 3 days, we could have gotten a lot more done. Maybe it was the stress of it. Maybe it was the need to be a little bit more perfect than normal, or even the fact that we were being really ambitious with our idea. Could have gotten a lot more done, and the blame does rest on mostly me for for not being able to get as much done and to have as good a code as I could have had. So yeah. Anyway, into the small little montage, if I'm putting it there. If I'm not putting it there, then you won't see this part of the video. Peace.
So right now, I'm trying to get Shotty out of the pool. And it's the blatant racism for me. Because, look, I was told not to sell you anything. Bitch, try me. Wrong bitch.
Okay, you may not notice this, but this man will ascend into godhood. Hold on. Alright, everything starts as normal. We got our 2D character, yada, yada, yada. We're going to the scene, and okay, well, he's doing alright. He's doing good. He's doing his dance. And slowly he begins to rise. I didn't script him to do that. He's just doing it on his own. He just wants to meet God.
Okay, so I just got Shotty out of the pool, got the TA his medicine, got them to talk, and got the 2D boy where he's supposed to be, and I still can't talk to him. I don't know if I need to, but I would like to. And I can't. I'm pressing the right button. And it's just like, nah, you can't do it.
Moving, we're meeting Hacker at his game. Why did you hate that show? How do you hate Cyber Chase? But the show teaches you math.